Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Hey Murderitas, I'm Danica.
And I'm Shannon.
We are the mother-daughter hosts of Murder and Mimosas,
A true crime podcast that strives to focus on lesser-known cases.
We personally think these episodes go down a little bit better with a mimosa.
You sip, we share.
So grab yours and get ready, because every Saturday at brunch time is a new episode.
You can listen to us on any podcast platform.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey Dylan, I would ask you how you're doing, but I know you've had a doozy of a day.
It was a heck of a day. I tell you what, as soon as my butt hit the seat,
You'll tell me what?
I'll tell you what, my day started hectically at about 2:30 this morning, and it continued that entire time, save for a 30-minute exactly break where I wolfed my food down until about 1:30.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've almost worked a 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
Much like you did before.
Well, it was not.
Except you don't
I had to
get
work.
to nap. Now you actually have to do work, which I know is quite troubling for someone who once had a nice, cushy union job.
Well, I got to say, taking a 3-4 hour nap in the middle of that 12-hour shift, sitting on, your butt, looking on the phone most of the shift, is quite different than having to work your ass off the entire shift.
And I'm not trying to be an asshole here, but I do find it a little amusing because you would complain all the time about this cushy job you had.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, bud, you have no idea what it's like to be in the real world, like working a regular job where you must be accountable for your productivity and you don't have protections. And
you get a half-hour clocked out lunch break and maybe 2 15-minute breaks.
Maybe, if you're lucky, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you've gotten a taste of that, and you don't care for it.
No, I must say I do not. And if we can get about 1,000 other people to become patrons, I might quit.
We just need a good 1,000 patrons. So come on, we only need about 900 of you to sign up.
Yeah, but I must say I really appreciate the patrons we have, and we love our listeners as well.
Well, they know you tell them every episode, okay? It starts to get a little creepy, Dylan. They don't always consent to being told how much you love them.
I really love them, and today I'm announcing the Bring a Friend program to our Patreon. You need to get one of your friends to join, and then, it just grows exponentially.
You know what I've decided? Okay, so we talk about the robot and AI revolution and how it's going to be a bad thing. And I do agree because they're probably going to end up killing us all. But at the same time, I'm kind of ready for the robot revolution to come and take over all the jobs. So then we don't have to toil away working and we can just kind of enjoy life, because I don't feel like we weren't really meant to do this kind of work. I just want a homestead, right? I want to raise some chickens and grow some vegetables and, can and just collect my eggs and focus on fun creative projects.
That sounds like a really great day. But unfortunately, I think society might end up like the people on the ship in WALL-E, where they're so fat and they're in the hover chairs,
I've never seen that.
You've never seen WALL-E?
No, see, but if we weren't working, then you're not sitting at a desk. You're not leading a sedentary lifestyle, because let's be honest, the majority of people out there are leading sedentary lifestyles. I feel like in today's world, there's not a ton of work where you're actively engaging with a lot of physical activity. I mean, you have some blue collar jobs. I know nurses that kind of thing. But, if you're in sales or you work at a bank or whatever, mostly you're just sitting. So this frees up time for you to do less sitting and be more active. Instead of spending 8 hours in front of a computer screen, you could frolic through a field of daisies, Dylan. You could take a bike ride. You could row. You could take a little paddle boat out on the lake.
Oh,
and read some poetry to your lover.
That sounds awesome. They always talk about the manufacturing jobs and factory jobs getting taken over by robots. But honestly, I think AI will wipe out a lot of office jobs and those types of jobs long before they have robots that can move like a human.
And probably a lot of creative jobs as well.
Yeah,
We'll just start making shitty AI movies.
Which I
with
think
fake actors that are really just AI generated.
I think that might be partially what's wrong with Hollywood. Maybe some of this writing's done by AI.
So much is wrong with Hollywood.
And we've talked about it before. It may be able to do it, but it lacks that soul. It lacks that, I don't know, just something about a human not having done it. It's like a caricature.
There's just no originality.
It's just not. It doesn't have that depth and that emotion.
I'm just over the lack of originality. It's very formulaic, and we're just keep regurgitating the same shit.
Yeah, I know. The remakes and reboots have to stop.
No, I have to say, and of course we're going to move on and talk about true crime, but I did go see a movie my son is visiting this week, which was a nice surprise. And yesterday we did go see the Minecraft movie, and let me just say my expectations were low. I don't play video games, and I was like, I'm not really interested in seeing this. It's probably going to be lame, whatevs. But I really enjoyed it. It was very funny. Jack Black, he's hilarious. I mean, he really is. And there was a lot of adult humor. I mean, really, my son, he's not really into Minecraft, but he enjoyed it. He was laughing out loud. It was very funny. So it was kind of nice to see this refreshing, original movie that still could pack a punch, humor, and kind of hit all the marks, funny for kids, funny for adults.
Yeah, and that's when it's done right. When you take an IP, this Minecraft's huge, right?
I guess.
Well, no, it
I know
is.
nothing about it.
I've never played it, but even my oldest child was playing it when he was a little kid. So it's been around a very long time. And but when you can know nothing about something like that, a game or whatever, and go and still enjoy it, that's a well done, well crafted movie. Much like I think the Barbie movie for the most part.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know why it has haters. I thought Barbie was great.
I thought it was well done. Anyway.
All right, Dylan, let's get into today's case. Enough dilly-dallying. We have true crime to talk about. And this case is going to take us to our home stomping grounds. It takes place in North Carolina.
Okay.
Raise up, take your shirt off, spin it like a helicopter.
That's right.
P.D. Pablo is in the house. Janine Sutphen was born in New York on November 10th of 1945 and grew up in Queens. Like a lot of young women of that generation, Janine became a teacher. I feel like back in the day, women did feel a bit limited in what careers they could choose. It was you could become a nurse, or you could be a secretary, or be a teacher, right? After finishing community college, Janine enrolled at Columbia's Teacher College and then went on to earn a degree at Columbia University, which we all know is a renowned educational facility.
Are they known for their child development and things like that?
I don't know, Dylan.
Okay.
That's not what I know them for, but maybe.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
But it doesn't matter because it's Columbia. I mean, if you graduate from Columbia, Princeton, Yale, it doesn't matter what you studied. People are just going to be impressed that you got in and you made it through and you earned a degree, right? Considered a free spirit, Janine was living in San Francisco when she met Chaz Sutphen. And by the way, I don't know what her maiden name was. So I'm just, from the beginning, she was Janine Sutphen. So she meets Chaz Sutphen, and the couple marries in 1976 and moved to Granville, Ohio. And they also lived in Vermont. Janine became the stepmother to Chaz's son Darren from a previous marriage, and together Janine and Chaz welcomed two sons, Christopher and Robin. And I often wonder if that was like a Winnie the Pooh thing, Christopher Robin,
Right.
or if they just happened to kind of like these names separately, right? The couple owned a photography studio that went bankrupt, unfortunately, and when that happened, Janine worked a series of jobs to support her family. Unfortunately, Chaz was unwell. He ended up undergoing 3 open heart surgeries.
Wow.
When it was time for the 4th, the family uprooted their lives and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, to be near these kind of well-known heart surgeons and cardiologists. After a 4th open heart surgery, Chaz passed away. Janine worked as a school teacher in Charlotte to support her sons. And when her husband passed, Janine's world drastically changed. I mean, this is a woman who had been married for, well over 20 years. She had 2 sons to support. I mean, it's got to be very hard to lose your spouse.
Man, well, yeah, and he's had all these health problems.
Yeah.
These really long recoveries, I'm sure, from something like open heart surgery multiple times. So, yeah, they'd been through a lot.
She'd gone through bouts of depression, but somehow Janine always managed to pull herself out of them. Janine had never really cared for Charlotte. She kind of thought it was a stuffy place, very corporate. She just didn't really fit in there. And by the late 1990s, her sons were grown. They had gone off to college. And Janine decided she was going to relocate to Durham, North Carolina, which she felt had a bit of a funkier vibe than Charlotte and was a little more like open-minded and accepting.
Well, yeah, and right around there you have Chapel Hill, Carborough, these little funky
Raleigh, yeah.
enclaves. The Raleigh, which is known for the Research Triangle, but I could definitely see you thinking it's kind of a little funkier because Charlotte feels...
There's a certain vibe to Charlotte.
It's cool, and a lot of people love it, but it does have a sterile air about it. You know what I mean? You do have a concentration of finance, office, corporate, whatever, which a lot of, every big city does. But it seems to be like that's mostly what they have.
Well, there's a
there.
concentration of yuppies. It's very like concrete. I call it concrete jungle. It's a lot of strip malls, a lot of commercial spaces,
Right.
high-rise apartments, chain restaurants, shopping. But like when you really go to Charlotte and like take a look around, I mean, I don't think there's a lot to do there. Like I've never particularly enjoyed Charlotte. I might go catch a concert or something. But if you're not like a professional, sports fan,
Right.
you don't go to the Panthers games or go to see the Charlotte Hornets, and you're not going to the NASCAR museum and maybe catching a concert here or there, like I don't feel like it has a lot to offer.
Right.
At least not someone like me. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we're missing out. Maybe someone could let us know about some cool, funky, artsy kind of cultural things there. But I agree with you. Just on its face, it just seems, like I said, sterile.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up going there and I've known people from Charlotte and have spent time there. And like I said, it's just not my kind of place, but a lot of people do love it. I mean, I have friends who live there who enjoy it. It's just never really been my vibe. So I can see why maybe somebody like Janine, who's more artsy and free-spirited and kind of just like go with the flow, would maybe prefer Durham. It's a little more laid back. That kind of thing. Okay, so Janine was a classically trained cellist. She was really creative and artistic, Dylan. She sewed, quilted, wove. She knitted and gardened. Like
Damn.
one of her friends is like, yeah, she like hand wove me a scarf. Like, how cool is that?
That's awesome.
We actually know somebody who has a loom, I guess, and can do weaving. And
So now, is that making your actual own yarn?
yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like amazed. Like, I feel like that takes some real talent. In Durham, Janine was able to find a circle of friends, and she fully embraced this new life. She helped establish a neighborhood watch in her townhouse community and was heavily involved in the Unitarian Church. Music was Janine's passion, and she applied for a spot with the Durham Symphony Orchestra. Being able to play professionally really brought joy to Janine's life, especially after experiencing such a challenging period. You know, her husband's gone, and she's also probably suffering from that empty nest syndrome that we hear about. So she's on her own and has to kind of find something to fulfill her.
Well, yeah, it certainly sounds like she has plenty of hobbies, things that take up her free time. That's what we talked about a week or two ago on the pod. I think we talked about finding something to do with your time now as you get older.
It's true. Janine had taken computer classes while in Charlotte and learned how to maintain servers. She had actually worked in Charlotte for a bank that no longer exists, kind of doing some like server maintenance because, again, she's teaching, but she's also kind of working other jobs to make ends meet. You know, she has these 2 boys. They're in college. That's expensive. She landed a job in the Research Triangle with Underwriters Laboratories. In 1999, Janine met Rob Petrick at a summer camp. It was a church camp in Blacksburg, Virginia. They were both in their 50s, and though Janine was a little bit older than him, he was divorced, having recently moved to Durham as well, so they seemed like they had a few things in common. Rob was unemployed, but earned money tinkering with computers. The two started dating, and it was described as a whirlwind romance.
Have you ever had a romance like that?
I would say our romance was pretty whirlwind. Right?
Well, so
we met in May. We married in August. And this is our, this year will be 7 years. So I would say that's a pretty whirlwind romance.
So does that mean a relationship that moves rather quickly?
Yes.
Or
and
gets
I think,
serious?
Well, yeah. And you just sort of like, you fall really hard for this person. Kind of you meet them and fall for them. And everything kind of goes quickly. You don't have like a lengthy engagement.
I fell in front of you a time or two.
Yes, you continue to do that, but now that you're sober, you do it a little bit less.
Well, I was going to say I don't do that now.
Fall down?
No.
Well, I mean, sometimes I push you down.
Yeah, it's different.
Or trip you and then be like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
You wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't. I think about it. I'm not going to lie. There are some times when I'm mad at you and I think I should just like throw him down the stairs.
Well, hold up now. You're assuming you can throw me down the stairs,
I know
bro.
I could throw you down the stairs. I catch you off guard.
Oh, wow.
And I'm stronger than I look.
You are. You do have that low center of gravity.
I got these big ass shoulders you're always making fun of. I'm like a damn bull, Dylan. Janine and Rob married in 2001. Robert Petrick, let's talk about this guy a little bit, Dylan. He grew up in Chicago. His father abandoned the family when Rob was just a few months old. Rob's childhood was unstable. The family moved nearly every year. There was a stream of boyfriends and different stepfathers in the home. As a boy, Rob attended Catholic school and was briefly an altar boy. He was severely bullied in high school, and by 16, he dropped out and started hitchhiking around the country.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like his childhood was missing stability, number one, right?
Tumultuous.
So it doesn't surprise me that he would just be like, screw it, and kind of take off on his own, you know?
You mean like, screw you guys, I'm going home.
Right.
Okay. In the early 1980s, Rob was arrested for fraud. In 1982, he married a high school friend named April Van Dam, but it didn't take long for the marriage to sour. Rob racked up debt, took out credit cards in his wife's name, and eventually she would have to file for bankruptcy.
Damn, how can you financially ruin someone like that?
It doesn't seem that hard, Dylan. You just take out a bunch of loans and don't pay them back.
Well, and back in the day, it was even easier, right? Someone could just, if they had your info, your date of birth, your name, and your social security number, they could open up all kinds of stuff.
Well, and I mean, I guess we have to think about women were only really allowed to kind of have their own checking accounts and stuff, I think in like the 70s. So the early 80s, I mean, it's probably still kind of a man's world. So all he has to do is be like, my wife wants a credit card. And they're like, yes, sir, here you go.
With no limit.
Now make sure you supervise her. She can't be responsible. She's just a silly woman, right?
He's the one.
Now, throughout the early 80s, Rob had multiple convictions for fraud and forgery, or forgery, whatever you want to say. He spent 1983 to 1985 in an Illinois prison. Rob was able to get employment as a mail carrier following his release from prison, but in 1988, he was convicted of throwing mail into a dumpster and was ordered to spend 6 months residing in a federal halfway house.
Man, I heard this story. That reminds me. It was like a mail carrier in Newfoundland or, so the Netherlands, somewhere like that. But they were wondering, a lot of people started complaining about never getting mail. It was like whole neighborhood, right? Whole area of town. And so they start watching this guy, and he would drive out into the middle of the woods, deep in the woods, and just throw the mail out. And they found, like, this has been happening for like a year or something. And there was just this ton of mail kind of hiding under the leaves in this forest. And they're like, what do you, it took him longer to like drive way out into the country and throw this mail out than it would have just to deliver it.
Like, why wouldn't you just do your job?
I mean, if you don't like it that much, just quit.
I don't understand. I've heard stories like this before. And stories where mail carriers will, like, steal things from the mail, like,
right,
you know, during the holiday season, gift cards, or try to cash checks. I mean, it's just very strange. Like, just do your job, and you're going to get busted.
Well, yeah, people are going to report. Mail's very important to people.
I was going to say eventually, and especially back then, right? I mean, nowadays we depend so much on like the internet, and most of us kind of do like the online bill pay, or you have it like deducted from your account.
But there's still important
stuff. Still important stuff that comes in the mail. Your W-2, for example. So by 1992, Rob's marriage to April was over. He ended up meeting and moving in with a couple, Keith and Phaedra Orbeck. The Orbecks have been described as an eccentric couple who practiced paganism, called themselves witches, and were also polyamorous. Rob was married to the couple in September of 1995 in a pagan wedding ceremony. The throuple lasted for about 4 years. Rob then relocated to Greensboro, North Carolina with another woman. Now, in June of 2001, Janine received a call from Lisa Orbeck, who happened to be another wife of Keith Orbeck. Lisa wanted to warn Janine of Rob's fraud schemes and history. She also told Janine that Rob was seeing other women behind his wife's back. Now, according to Lisa, Janine was dismissive, and she did not believe this strange woman calling her out of the blue.
Which I think, I don't know. Would you give it any validity? Would you believe
Yes, I would, because I really don't think that there's just some random person out there who's like, you know what? I'm going to fuck with this woman. I'm going to call her and tell her husband's unfaithful. I mean, I would say 9 times out of 10 that when you get a call or a message or something, you know, from someone who is telling you your spouse or your partner is cheating on you.
Right.
I don't need the proof.
It's likely true.
It's every time that's ever happened to me in my life, it's been true. And that person's been a piece of shit and was lying to me. And so I just don't see how some random person would, I mean, they don't really have a dog in this fight, right?
Right.
So like, if they're taking the time to warn you, I mean, I believe you should probably take it seriously. But that's just me. I'm also very paranoid and I believe everybody's a piece of shit. So naturally, I'm going to be like, huh.
So
okay.
You're just going to be like, I knew it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I would say I'm not I don't know about you.
Well, you should know about me.
I'm just saying, I would, if somebody called me and said whatever, I would be a little suspicious. But I pretty much know you pretty well, right? I know you very well. I know your time is accounted for. There's really not any time out of the day where I don't know where you are.
Well, there you go.
You know, you don't do some secret squirrel shit on your phone.
No, my phone's an open book.
I mean, you're very much like, here, take my phone and look at it, right?
You can have my phone. There's no code.
I know. So I'm just saying, I guess, I trust your ass.
Maybe I'm hiding in plain sight. Oh, maybe my game's no game. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to get stabbed, keep on, motherfucker.
Well, no, look, I don't understand why you want to be with someone if you're not going to be completely honest and all those things. Why in the world, which I understand why a guy like Rob, he's just out to screw somebody over and do all these things, whatever benefits him. Sounds like a flaming narcissist.
Yeah.
And just an overall piece of shit. But I just don't understand the sneaking around, all that stuff, the lying. Because if you can't trust your spouse, then what's the point?
And
who can you trust?
Right?
Yeah, you finished my
sandwiches.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Dylan, I know that
what's wrong with you?
We're both like way too codependent,
right,
to be doing that shit.
Because
if I get mad at you, you're like, oh God, it upsets you.
Well, yeah.
So I can't, you don't like want me to be mad at you ever. So I can't imagine you out cheating because you get upset if I'm like scold you over something.
No, I would never. I love you.
Minimal. Yeah, I know. I like you too.
All right.
So Janine was laid off from work, and it took her a year to find employment. Janine became an apprentice indexer working for a man named Richard Evans in Raleigh. Evans said he only had 2 apprentices in 10 years. Quote, "They're hard to find. It's a rare combination of talents." Janine had performed so well that Evans promised to send her more clients so she could strike out on her own. And I looked into like book indexing, what she was doing. I don't really understand it, but good for her.
I mean, is it like, is it akin to, is it like accounting?
Well, I don't know. It was more described like alphabetizing, and I don't really know. Like I said, I don't really understand.
So it's just something that
I tried to read up on it, but I have ADD, and sometimes I have a hard time concentrating if I don't take my medicine. So I'll just use that as my excuse.
So likely this is one of those tasks or jobs that nowadays there's an app for.
Maybe like archiving. I mean, I don't really know, but anyway, she's great at it. Bottom line,
she's a badass book ender.
Look, I don't claim to know anything, and I don't know what indexer does. Janine maintained close relationships with her sons, speaking to the 3 regularly. Hardly a day would pass without Janine chatting with at least one of the 3 sons. In early January of 2003, Janine fell ill. She had been sick for a few days and told her sons that she was also feeling a bit depressed. Darren, the eldest, didn't worry too much about it. His stepmother, or he called her mother, had always considered his mother to be the type that was like, the sun will come out tomorrow. Like, even if I'm feeling down in the dumps today, that doesn't mean I'm going to feel that way tomorrow.
Bet your bottom dollar.
Exactly. Janine had always managed to kind of overcome the depression in the past. Yet Janine's 3 sons started to grow concerned by January 7th when their mother had stopped answering the phone.
Well, I think her ability to kind of be like, hey, today sucks, but tomorrow's going to be better. I think that probably helped her in the past deal with her depression, or at least help get herself out of that loop.
Well, I think that's what helps me, and I think that's what helps you, is that we kind of recognize it's a cycle, it's a pattern, but it's not, like you always say, I remind myself it's not real.
Well,
like, this is just something my brain does.
Yes, and that right there was really changed my life. I still deal with it. I still have cycles. Things happen. Life happens. But once I started just realizing, hey, I'm going to, feel this way for 2 or 3 days, a week, whatever. But it's just my chemical. It's just a chemical reaction in my brain. It's the way I'm wired. Because I think what can drive you crazy when you're in these deep cycles of depression is wondering why. Why is this happening? Why do I feel this way? All these things, all these thoughts. Why can't I get going? Why do I not care about anything, even, personal hygiene or whatever? You need to do all these things, but you still don't move off the couch.
One of the biggest things for me when I'm battling depression, and the last couple weeks, I'll admit I've been down in the dumps, and the big kicker for me is I have horrible insomnia, but when I start feeling sleepy all the time and wanting to nap and like wanting to sleep, that's how I'm kind of like, okay, I think I'm depressed. Like I'm in one of those depression modes or whatever. So, you know, I just recognize it like, okay, hey, this week I've been sleeping a lot, but maybe my body needs it. Maybe it's going to help, right? But you kind of, for me, I just have to kind of push through it.
Right.
And if I take breaks from certain activities, I mean, that doesn't mean I'm never going to go back and do those things again. I'm like, okay, well, right now that's not for me. I'm going to get through this and then I'll bounce back.
That's right. I'll shower tomorrow.
You know, I'm never so depressed that I don't shower. I will say that.
No, I usually still will, shower.
'Cause I'm like way too neurotic about hygiene.
I just don't enjoy the shower while I'm in there. I'm just like, why do I have to shower?
Yeah, I've never felt like that. I've never been that depressed that I don't want to shower. Because I like to scrub my body with a wire brush. Get it really clean. Until I bleed. Okay, so Janine's sons continue to call the house, trying to check on their mom without any luck. They're just not able to reach her. And on occasion, Rob would answer the phone. He would tell the boys that Janine was just too depressed to come to the phone.
And so this is really, I'm sure, worrisome for her sons because, like you said, almost daily, one of the three talks to her.
They're always in communication. Like, even when their mom is down in the dumps, she likes to talk to her sons. That's like a bright spot in her life. I mean, by all accounts, she was like an amazing mom. And her boys really looked up to her. They thought she was a wonderful role model. And they loved spending time with her. And it seems like Janine really, kind of had that same relationship with her kids. So for her to just be like, I'm not going to the phone, that didn't make sense. In their whole life, they had never been turned down by their mother,
Well, let alone for days and days in a row.
Well, between January 7th and January 22nd, none of the three sons were able to connect with their mother. Friends and neighbors also grew concerned. It was not like Janine to cut everyone off socially. So when friends and neighbors would ask, like, where's Janine? Rob would tell them she had the flu or she was feeling depressed. Frustrated and worried about his mother, Christopher called Rob on January 21st to express his concern. Christopher told Rob that if he didn't produce Janine for a phone call, he was going to drive to Durham to check on her. So around 3:30 in the morning, Rob called law enforcement to report his wife missing.
Oh, wow.
Rob Petrick relayed to police that his wife Janine had gone to practice with the Durham Symphony at 6:30 p.m. on January 21st, and she had never returned home. Quickly, law enforcement was able to locate Janine's car in a public parking garage adjacent to the Durham Arts Council. The car was unlocked, Janine's keys were inside, and a very expensive cello was in clear view in the back seat. No windows were broken and nothing seemed out of place. There didn't seem to be any signs of a struggle. It was as if she had just left her car there. Law enforcement speculated that if robbery was a motive, a perp would have probably taken this cello. I mean, it's a very expensive instrument.
I can only imagine what a cello cost.
Police interviewed business owners, they checked surveillance cameras, and spoke with garage attendants. No one had any information to offer about Janine. Janine's friends at the symphony raised alarms. Not only would Janine never park in that particular garage, but she had been very vocal in expressing concern about crime in the vicinity of this area. Janine had pressed to have aggressive panhandlers removed from the surrounding area of the Durham Arts Council.
Well, yeah, it sounds like she's always been like kind of security minded, right? She helped to put together a neighborhood watch as soon as she moves to Durham. So this is not someone who takes these types of things lightly, right?
Well, and she had complained about this parking garage because it was not very well lit, and she thought it was unsafe for members of the symphony to park there. She didn't like leaving practice late at night, and walking there by herself. I mean, you know.
So the fact that her car is there with the keys, cello, unlocked, is just the last place that Janine would park her car because these people know she's...
Yeah, no one is buying
Right.
that Janine parked her car there. As with any missing persons case, detectives began by questioning the husband, Rob Petrick. Now, according to Rob, the couple had a wonderful marriage, never spending a night apart like the entire time they were married, right? Rob mentioned that his wife struggled with depression. He also told investigators everything was fine. Their finances were in order. They never argued and were very, very, very much in love.
And see,
That's how you know it's serious, because there's 3 varies.
I know some people can have a great relationship, but I mean, to put on like you never ever have any kind of, even minor disagreements and like everything's roses and sunshine, that almost seems fake to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, especially most people will say things like, well, we didn't have a major fight. Sometimes we disagree. I mean, there's something there. It seems like a fake description of a relationship to me.
Yeah.
If I was an investigator listening to a person like this.
I mean, we rarely fight, but on occasion we do have disagreements. I mean, they don't really get out of hand or anything.
No.
But to say our marriage is perfect and we never raise our voices at each other or have a crossword, I mean, that's a damn lie. I don't think there's any couple out there that doesn't once in a while have a argument about something, even if it's something minor.
Right.
Like putting the lid back on the toothpaste or something, right?
You know what you do that drives me crazy? I want to be honest with you right now.
I don't care.
No, but you do something. It's pretty serious. And I think a lot of people out there will agree with me on this one. Any item that you open the lid and then it has like a seal that you like, say sour cream or, cheese, feta cheese in a container or whatever, you will peel the seal back and use it, and you'll leave that seal on there and then put the lid back on it. And that drives me crazy.
Why?
Because you got to take that off. You got to get it completely off.
No.
That's why we got the plastic lid. Oh my gosh.
I'm going to keep doing it.
I know. I know that you will.
You know what bothers me?
I know.
Every fucking thing that you do, okay?
That can't
Don't
be
look
true.
at me right now.
Our relationship's perfect.
Okay, Mr. Leave your clothes
But
everywhere
see, that's
for your
how
wife to pick up.
that's how far that's the worst thing you do. But I'm just like, she's a monster. It's just like monster. I'm like, wow.
You know what? I'm gonna put another fucking layer of plastic on it, and then the lid.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna plastic wrap it, and then put the lid on top, and then like wrap it some more. You like that?
We're going to have to do a poll on Instagram.
It's fine.
All right.
Neighbors and I don't know why I do that.
I don't know.
I think it's because like maybe my mom did that growing up or something, and
you came up like that.
Like I just thought you needed to keep it on. I mean, I don't know. I really don't have a reason or explanation. But if it bugs you, I'll stop.
No, you don't have to change your DNA for me.
No, I'll be a completely different person since you hate who I am now. I see. Neighbors and friends agreed they had not seen Janine in at least a week. Rob offered up explanations to them that his wife was sick, she had the flu, she was depressed. Investigators called Janine's sons to let them know their mother was missing, and when they spoke to the 3 sons, they confirmed that Janine never parked in that garage when she went to symphony practice. Janine had complained about the area and how it was dark and dangerous at night. Janine was also known to park in a brightly lit parking lot that happened to be like across the street. The sons also expressed that though Janine had struggled with depression in the past, she was an optimistic and strong-willed woman. The sons did not believe that Janine walked away from her life or committed suicide.
Well, not to say that someone's circumstance or their mind couldn't change when they get older, but I mean, when people have dealt with this most of your life as their son or kid, you get a good feel for how bad it really gets for them. You know what I mean? I mean, you understand it. It's she's never, had to, be committed or, just they never worried about her
Maybe
self-harming.
she never had suicidal ideations, had never tried. I mean, and they're probably thinking, she went through like our father being sick, losing our father, struggling as a single mom, working multiple jobs, just trying to like keep things afloat. And, so she's kind of survived
the worst of
some of the worst parts of her life. So, everything seems to be okay right now, other than the job thing, but even that was turning around for her. So I can see why her son's like, didn't really buy that she had just like walked away.
Right.
Plus, I mean, who really does that?
I mean,
I think it's a very rare percentage of people who just like walk away from their life and then you find them like 20 years later living in like Arizona under an assumed name. I mean, that just doesn't typically happen.
That's what that guy did.
Right?
That faked his own death and left his wife and his 2 sons and moved to like Galveston, Texas from Ohio. But
well, like I said, I think that's a very rare occurrence that happens.
That's the first instance of that truly happening have I ever heard a story. Because every other time in true crime especially, when someone claims that's what someone did, that's never the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but every missing person didn't just walk away from their life. Every missing kid didn't run away from home. I think we know that by now.
Where are all those missing people? Where?
In your McDonald's burger.
Some people, that's a conspiracy theory.
I know, and I used to think it was kind of nuts, but like, I'm not so sure these days. And how do they explain finding like DNA in fast food meat? And then, human DNA can transfer, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're following food safety protocols.
Sure.
They're gloved. They have hair nets, beard nets.
That's why it's in the frozen meat patty. Makes sense.
Anyway, that's for another podcast.
Saying.
But no, hundreds of thousands of people every single year, and many times in many instances,
I think it's like 1,200 people go missing a day.
Never find their remains. You never find their bodies. They never come back 30 years later saying, this
Surprise!
is what happened. Yeah. I mean, anyway.
Hey, you remember you saw my picture on that Soul Asylum video? Runaway train? Oh, well, here I am.
Yeah, I know I said I was never coming back, but
I've been living in Oregon under an assumed name, and I've been a butcher all these years. I mean, give me a break.
I'm an accomplished butcher.
When forensics took a closer look at Janine's car, they realized the driver's seat was pushed back. Janine was a petite woman. Some reports say she was 5'2". Others say she was as small as 4'11".
That is a dead giveaway. If I ever do any foul stuff, I'm going to make sure I put that seat back up where the little short person that drove the car that I'm disposing of keeps it.
Are you talking about me?
Oh,
Is this a stab at how short I am? Look, I know.
No.
I know. Every time I get in the car, I have to especially your vehicle, I have to adjust the seat.
No, I was talking about just short people in general,
Yeah,
baby, not
okay.
your car.
Yeah.
No, but this really is something that stands out.
Well, no, it totally does.
Because just me, I'm not, I'm 6 foot even, dead on.
He's 6 foot on Tinder, y'all.
And you're not, but our seats are totally different.
Look, I'm a perfectly acceptably normal size for an adult human person.
Look,
okay?
I'm getting to the age where if I try to go in a car behind you, my car or your car, if I don't let it back as I'm getting in it and I try to sit down, I get injured.
You get stuck.
I get stuck. I do get stuck.
You're like, oh, God.
I'm just all jammed up, and then I can reach down there and barely click it, and then I kind of fall into the seat.
Yeah, I've seen.
I'm like, oh, my God, what happened?
Okay. When detectives followed up on the previous information Rob had given regarding the couple's, financial status, they were shocked to learn Janine's bank account was drained and the couple's credit cards were maxed out. Bills were overdue. Richard Evans, he's the indexer guy, remember, had last seen Janine on January 5th, and he had left 6 messages and had only received an email reply that she was very ill. He told investigators that Janine had confided in him that the couple was experiencing extreme financial hardships. Janine said checks had bounced and all of their bills were behind.
So this is the exact opposite of what Rob said about their marriage being financially sound.
Janine had been receiving unemployment benefits, but those ran out in December of 2002. Investigators learned that about 2 months after the wedding, Rob had inherited $260,000 from his mother's estate, and that money was long gone. So in just a short period of time, I mean, they've only been married 2 years at this point? Not even 2 years.
And this is in the 80s.
This is in the early 2000s.
Early 2000s at this point.
That $260,000 was gone.
And that's a chunk of money.
I think that's a big chunk of money.
Even in 2024, that's a chunk of money to, clear a bunch of debt.
Well, I don't have $260,000. It's a lot of money.
That would change my life.
I even got $26,000. Sony wants to give me $260,000. I'm here for it.
Yeah, just hit us up at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com. I'll give you my cash app.
You can adopt me if you don't have any heirs.
Are you going to be like a sugar baby?
No, but I'm not. Nobody wants that.
I want to be a sugar boy.
You could be a sugar boy.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Somebody could pay me to just be like a curmudgeon all the time.
They could pay me to complain.
Like if you just want to come over and talk shit, I would be good. I could do that.
I will call people and cuss them out for you.
Yeah.
That's my job.
I can do that too.
I can cuss good.
Christopher told investigators that his mother had never fallen behind on bills, even when his father had passed away. She always found some way to earn money to keep up with the house payment, her car payment, credit card bills. And it also sounds like Janine wasn't really a big spender. I don't think she financed a lot of stuff.
Right. Say outside of her hobbies and stuff like that, that's all once she gets that set up, gets her very expensive cello, it sounds like that's what she spends her time doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, when she bought this cello, I mean, that could have been something she had from, being a very young person or whatever. But her son's, I mean, it basically sounds like she was someone who definitely lived within her means. So they were kind of surprised to find that there were all these credit cards with these outstanding balances.
Well, no, this is bills due, all accounts drained, credit cards maxed out. This is a very unhealthy situation that any relationship is going to be in serious trouble once you reach this point.
Earlier, Janine had expressed concern to her son. She said that her mail had been missing and that she hadn't been receiving credit card statements and certain bills.
Oh my God, she had the mailman from the Netherlands.
It sounds like it. Or she had Rob as her mailman because remember he liked to throw mail away.
Yeah.
We'll hold that thought. When police spoke to the mail carrier, they were in for another surprise. The mail carrier knew Rob well. Rob met the mail carrier every single day at the mailbox to pick up the mail as soon as it was delivered. It was pretty clear to investigators that Rob had drained Janine's bank accounts and hidden the bills from her. He was intercepting these bills so she would not be aware of their financial troubles.
Damn, to put in the effort to do that every single day. What a piece of crap.
I check the mail every day. But it's only because I know you will never.
Yeah.
So, if I don't, I'll go out there and it's just piled up. So,
well, there's nothing.
We don't even really have anything important that comes in the mail.
Yeah, I don't have anything that comes in the mail.
Except, okay, I have to mention this because I just found it a little crazy. I was like, okay. I'd gotten a bill for the county tax, vehicle tax. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And had sort of put it aside and hadn't really thought about it. And then it's 30 days later, I start getting these very threatening letters we're going to suspend your tag and take your driver's license indefinitely over this $50 that you haven't paid on a county tax. And I guess for me, it wasn't that I didn't want to pay the tax or something, but back in North Carolina, when you register your vehicle and get your new license plate renewal, they automatically tally in your vehicle tax.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of all one lump sum. And I guess I just kind of was in that mindset. But man, yeah, I started getting all these nasty letters, threatening and super aggressive. They wanted this $50. They were those little newsboys in Better Off Dead. I want my $50.
So they sent you $50 worth of letters.
Yes. And then I was like, okay, oh damn, okay. So I went online and paid it. No big deal. paid that. Then I get some letter from the state that's like, if you don't pay this, we're taking your license. And it's also like kind of a nasty letter.
Damn.
And I was like, okay, well, that's been paid. But then I finally get a receipt from the county like, thank you.
Thank goodness.
Hey, now we're cool.
We can walk the county back off that ledge.
Oh, damn, they wanted that $50.
I guess it shows
If they
you.
didn't have my vehicle tax money, it was going to like break this county.
Well, they're not spending it on the roads. I can tell you that.
I know, right?
Shit.
I just was like, okay. It's like a super aggressive bill collector, right? Like pretty soon they're going to show up over here and start like stealing stuff.
The county's knocking on your door.
Like, I'm going to take your outdoor seating because you owe us $50. Janine's friend told investigators that she discovered the couple was broke in November of 2002. When Janine learned that all of their money was gone and that they were in severe debt, she was devastated. Like, she'd really kind of been in the dark about this because, again, she's not getting her bank statement. She's not getting bills. She's kind of still under the mindset that there's this like $260,000 in the bank that her husband inherited.
Well, yeah. Why would you be worried? And I'm going to guess that the money she did make, she probably put into the pot to pay bills and things like that. So as far as she knows, everything's okay.
Law enforcement also discovered that sometime in October or November of 2002, Rob Petrick tried to choke his wife while she was exercising. He apologized to Janine and said he didn't know why it had happened.
I didn't mean to choke you.
Yeah, he couldn't explain it. It was just like something came over him.
I slipped on a banana peel, and the next thing I know, I was choking the shit out of you.
Oh, God.
I don't know what happened.
Why does that sound like Dylan Gymnastics? I feel like that's like, that would be an excuse you would use.
I try to catch myself by your throat.
Yeah.
No, I would never.
Well, I'm
Money-
just saying that you don't always come up with the best excuses for things.
How do you try to explain away choking someone? I mean, it's a very deliberate act.
Well, there's a lot. Like, how do you explain that you were accidentally having sex with someone? Like, hold on, it's not what it looks like. I can explain. I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's some things you just can't explain your way out of.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, hi, I put my hands around your neck and tried to strangle you.
I didn't mean
But hold
it.
on. Let me explain. Yeah. A search warrant was executed and the townhouse on Seaton Road was searched. Rob was quite agitated during the search. Inside Rob's computer room, they found multiple computers and hard drives, and they described the room as just being in disarray. Like, tons of computers, tons of hard drives, just shit piled up, stacked up, computer equipment, cords. Although they did not find Janine in the house, investigators did uncover evidence of a crime. Rob had been manufacturing fake checks with his computer and attempting to deposit them into his bank account. Rob had tried to defraud the bank out of $48,000 with these fake checks.
So he's never gave up his fraudulent ways.
Rob was arrested on felony fraud charges. His computers and hard drives were seized. That's when law enforcement found some interesting browsing history, Dylan. Like, for example, on October 25th of 2002, Rob had searched for, quote, neck, snap, break, hold.
Okay.
A bookmark was placed on an article entitled 22 Ways to Kill a Man with Your Bare Hands.
But wait, I can explain this.
Oh, he had some excuses, and we'll get to that. On December 13th of 2002, Rob attempted to cash one of those checks for $48,000. Now, some articles have claimed it was $48,000 that he was trying to cash. Other articles I've read said it was up to $75,000 that he had tried to, like, fake
Now,
deposit.
is this a
and
bunch of
withdraw.
different checks or just one big check?
Well, again,
You don't
the
know.
details were a little murky because it sounded like he had deposited 3 checks for $48,000, but then he went into the bank and tried to cash one big check. And
That's
they
so
were like,
dumb.
yeah, you can't take that money out because it doesn't exist. On Christmas Day of 2002, Rob attacked his wife with a 600,000 volt stun gun. And that seems like a really high voltage, so I don't know if that was a typo, but I wrote it down anyway because I was like, okay. But is there such thing as a 600,000 volt stun gun?
I don't know, but that sounds scary
Well,
to me.
Either way, it's 6 with some zeros. Whatever stun gun is available.
Either
on the market,
way,
I don't know.
It's a stun gun that's meant to incapacitate someone at the very least.
Yeah, and he had recently ordered the stun gun and then decided for no reason to attack his wife with it. Then in January of 2003, Janine had written a check for her son Robin's tuition, and it bounced. She had been aware of the financial trouble, but at this point, she realized that all of the money from her bank account, like money that was supposed to pay for her son's college, was gone as well. I mean, just everything is wiped out. A consensus of friends, family, and neighbors was that January 7th was really kind of the last time anyone had seen or heard from Janine. A deeper investigation revealed that someone had searched for underwater topographical maps of 12 different North Carolina lakes that were kind of surrounding the Durham area. After a month, detectives were no longer treating Janine's case as a missing persons, but now as a homicide. They believed Janine was deceased, and it was just a matter of locating her remains. Investigators felt Rob had murdered his wife, but without a body or any physical evidence, they didn't want to risk an arrest.
Well, yeah, because you can only charge someone once, right?
Right. So they're just like trying to work the case, trying different, angles. So within a few days of his fraud arrest, Rob was back out on the streets. He was released, I guess. Police began digging into Rob's background and learning about his sordid past. When detectives spoke with Keith Orbeck, he told them that Rob owed him a, quote, significant amount of money, and he called Rob a con man. Rob's ex-wife, April Van Dam, recalled that her husband was a, quote, compulsive spender who wrecked her credit and committed multiple financial crimes during their 13-year marriage.
Sounds familiar, right?
Now, a woman came forward with a piece of information that on January 13th of 2003, Rob Petrick, who was a regular at the James Joyce pub in Durham, had spoken to her at the bar, trying to hit on her, and that he told her his wife had died of cancer.
Sorry.
So your wife's missing. You're just going to go around telling people she died of cancer.
Which is not true at all. She didn't even have cancer.
Another search was performed on Rob's computer on January 18th, quote, for Falls Lake, North Carolina depth. Law enforcement learned on January 21st that Robin had left a message on the couple's answering machine saying that if he didn't hear his mother's voice in the next 24 hours, that he was going to come there and, quote, you don't want to see me on the other side of the door. So, both of her sons have made threats that they're going to show up in person. They're going to see their mother. Detectives suspected there were many more people, especially women, that Rob had swindled. They decided to go public with their suspicions. They asked local press to cover the story of Rob Petrick's fraud charges and the possible connection to his wife's disappearance. And boy, oh boy, Dylan, did this work. The story was syndicated nationwide through various newspapers. Ann Johnston, who lived hundreds of miles away in Atlanta, Georgia, happened to see the article. She phoned Durham detectives with a shocking story. Ann Johnston told investigators that she and Rob had dated back in high school and that over a year ago, so sometime back in 2002, they had rekindled their relationship. She knew he was residing in Durham but was unaware that he was married. Rob explained that he had been married, but his former wife passed away from cancer.
Damn.
Rob flew to Atlanta several times a month over the past year to visit Ann, often staying for several days. They had picked right up where their relationship had left off without skipping a beat. In fact, Rob had even proposed marriage.
Yeah, he's like, I'll look after your finances for you.
Ann Johnston was wealthy, as were her parents. Detectives surmised that Rob had set his sights on Ann as his next target. Rob was not only looking for a free ride, but he probably wanted to take Ann for everything she had. And so I was kind of like, how is he able to go out of town so often? But I also found through my research that Rob claimed he was like a computer consultant.
Oh, okay.
And that one of the reasons why they were having financial, this is kind of how he explained it to his wife, is that he had several big customers who were like refusing to pay their bills.
Oh, okay. So he had a lot of money coming. He just didn't have it yet.
Yes. So I'm assuming that he was maybe able to travel because he was working, right?
Consulting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about this, and not to insult anybody who does like consulting work, but it just sort of seems like a BS job.
Well, look, the few people I've known that was in it, they know. They laugh about it. You know what I mean? They're just like, yeah, I can't believe I get paid to do this.
I mean, we knew someone pretty well.
Yeah.
And consulting, and they, they didn't really do anything, but got paid a lot of money to just make a few suggestions.
Just people's like, what do you think about this?
Well, maybe you should paint the office green, and that would make people happy. I mean,
Right.
That's like literally the kind of shit they would say.
We need more windows in here.
Yeah, it's going to increase productivity. Another woman in Greensboro, North Carolina, had also seen the newspaper articles, and she came forward with information that Rob had wiped out her checking account and maxed out her credit cards, and had even taken out some cards in her son's name. Another woman reported having dated Rob in the last year until she found out he was married. Police were blown away when yet another woman came forward to say during her time dating Rob, he had also drained her bank account and hid bills that he had racked up in her name. So not only is he having multiple affairs behind Janine's back, but he's also swindling those women.
He's a Romeo con man.
And I don't know why. Because if you saw pictures of him, you'd be like, what? It's one of those ponytail guys.
Yeah, but these people, they have a way about them that just kind of, maybe for certain type of people, they know how to just, run that game, tell you what you want to hear, give you certain kinds of attention. And it just blows my mind how people let a dweeb, a piece of shit like this. I haven't even seen Rob, but his name's Rob with the ponytail.
He's Rob with the ponytail.
So, I mean,
he's
come
a
on.
little like ponytail guy.
Oh my gosh. But for whatever reason, they can just talk their way into these people's lives.
All this circumstantial evidence pointed to Rob murdering his wife. The Durham Symphony raised a $2,000 reward for any information on Janine's whereabouts. Friends told the media how difficult the months had been since she went missing. They described Janine as her gregarious personality, outspoken and strong. She had a big smile and a great sense of humor. Everyone missed her, quote, wisecracks. Several local ponds and lakes near the couple's townhouse were drained, but it wasn't until 4 months after Janine disappeared that kayakers on Falls Lake made a grim discovery. A large green tarp wrapped up like a mummy was found floating in the lake. We got to talk about this, Dylan. It's disturbing. When the police arrive, they find this object wrapped tightly with duct tape and thick rusted chains connected to cinder blocks. Investigators unraveled the layers of green tarp to find sleeping bags, and inside that, the decomposing, bloated body of Janine. The assistant state medical examiner, Dr. Thomas Clark, had to use dental records to identify her. I mean, somebody went to a lot of effort to conceal this body.
God, it's like a morbid Russian doll.
In the days before the discovery of Janine's body, Rob had attempted to use fake records. I'm not sure what he was doing fake record-wise, but he tried to obtain a driver's license using some sort of fake identity. He also tried taking out a loan for $10,000, listing his wife, Janine, as the guarantor. As soon as Janine's body was found, Rob was arrested. He had already spent 3 months in the Durham County Jail on those financial fraud charges before being released. So, I mean, he's pretty quickly, picked back up after that. Rob's sisters, Sue and Dee Dee, were dismayed to hear about their brother's potential involvement in a murder. They recalled that he would tie Sue up with belts like a mummy when she was between 7 and 9 years old and would leave her in the closet for hours.
Oh my gosh.
He would have been 11 to 13 years old at the time of these incidents. But they said even though he would do this and it was quite disturbing, they didn't really think he was capable of murder.
Well, not that.
But the way he wrapped her up like a mummy is how he wrapped up Janine's body. So it's like he's had this sick, I think, fantasy or kind of known like this is how I would dispose of a body or this is what I would do to a body.
Look, that's way beyond someone just being weird.
I agree.
I mean,
It's pretty fucked up.
That's a really messed up thing to do to someone.
Robin said, quote, "None of us saw this coming. Our mom was, to a large extent, something of a rock in our life." Robin described his mother as a determined, optimistic woman with high ethics and moral standards. Robin said Janine was a person people would strive to be like. She was a friend who often encouraged people to take a chance, like even if it was some life-altering chance, she would be like, just go for it.
You can do it.
Yeah. Christopher said, quote, "It's kind of a flood of emotions when their mother's was finally discovered." Now, Rob Patrick, this guy, he showed no remorse, but only arrogance as he pleaded not guilty in the murder. Before trial, prosecutors offered Rob a plea deal that would allow him to combine the fraud charges with the murder charge. It was described as a sweetheart deal in which he would have only served about 15 years in prison.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Rob's narcissism would not allow him to plead guilty. Instead, he refused. He was not going to take this deal. He believed prosecutors didn't have enough evidence for a murder conviction. He also decided that he didn't really like his court-appointed attorney.
Please tell me he represented himself.
You know it.
God,
because that's what these kind of people do.
Or Lori Vallow right now. Or maybe that trial's over.
No, it's over.
Is it?
That bitch guilty.
Yeah, we all knew she was guilty, but they can't help themselves because they really think they're the smartest person in the room.
Well, that's my next line, Dylan, is that Rob really thought he was smarter than everyone else.
Gosh, it's classic.
These people, I would almost like bet money that every single person who's going to represent themselves in these big trials are fucking narcissists and have some kind of personality disorder, because I think any reasonable person is like, you know what? I don't know the law that well. I'm probably not going to represent myself.
Well, no, because
I'll take my chances on a court-appointed attorney.
Well, even representing myself in traffic court is unnerving.
Well, here's the other part of that, Rob. Maybe if you hadn't blew through all this money, you might have money to hire an attorney, you dumbass. Now, acting as his own attorney, Rob questioned witnesses, including his former fiancée, Ann Johnston, and even Janine's best friend, Margaret Lewis. He really wanted to prove that he had never been violent with women. I mean, besides the fact that he choked out his wife and used a stun gun on her.
Yeah, but you didn't mean that.
No. He admitted to being a philandering swindler, but not a cold-blooded killer. A cadaver dog had discovered the scent of human remains in Rob's car, as well as in the bathroom of the townhouse. Rob tried to trip up the cadaver dog handler during questioning, and also tried to play these little games with the crime scene techs to try to prove there was no physical evidence tying him to the murder. But these people are professionals.
Right.
And you can't dispute evidence, right? I mean, that part kind of made me giggle a little bit, because I'm like, this guy.
Is it not true that you farted right before you took the dog into the bathroom?
Yes. He argued that Janine had made the damning internet searches. Apparently, Janine had a background in martial arts, and that she was the one who looked up, quote, neck snaps, and ways to kill men with your bare hands.
I want some neck snacks.
Well, okay. I'll get you some chips for your neck. Rob also pointed out there was no way he could have transported Janine's body in his vehicle, which was a small Mazda Miata. There's absolutely no way, but somehow dogs detected human remain scent from your vehicle.
Well, she's a rather small person too, right? And of course he drives a Mazda Miata.
With his ponytail?
Yes.
I mean, I think they're kind of cool cars, dude.
I like them. I'm just saying that car goes perfect with a douchey guy like Rob.
Who thinks he's really cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. The wind blowing through his ponytail.
Because you can see a Miata and be like, yeah, man, that looks so fun to drive and so cool looking.
Heck yeah.
But when you see a guy like Rob with his ponytail in it, it really brings the car down. You're like, this guy.
Look, I always thought a Miata was cool. When I was a teenager, I would go spend time with my stepdad's family, and his father had a Miata. You know, it was always garaged, like rarely driven. And sometimes they would take me like a little spin in the Miata, and that was like a really big deal for me. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, they're awesome little cars.
They're so cute. Now, it only took 2 hours of deliberations to find Rob Petra guilty. He was convicted of first-degree murder. Not only did he receive an 11-year sentence for the fraud charges, but life in prison without the possibility of parole in the death of Janine Sutphen. And this is one of those things where he had to serve the 11 years and then...
Oh, what they call that, concurrent?
I think so.
Or maybe that's together. I'm not sure. But so he had to do the 7 years before he even starts
Oh, they
the
made
life.
him do the 11 years before he
the
even
11.
starts the life sentence. So good for them.
Without the possibility of parole.
He is, no possibility of parole in the death of his wife. Now, he is currently incarcerated in a North Carolina prison. Now he's bald and has a big beard. I'll
Oh,
post some pictures.
what a duper.
I think he still might have a little ponytail, though.
Oh, my God.
Now-
Let it go, bro. It's 2025.
I don't understand. That's something I've never understood. Like, and I'm not a man, obviously, so I don't know what it feels like to go bald. I mean, I know that's some men struggle with that, and there's like insecurity behind it. But I always think it looks so much better if you just shave your head. Just be like the shaved head, like the bald head dude.
Just lean into it.
Like, and I know women who are really into that bald head thing. Like, they like it.
That's right. Rub it.
Dude, I had a friend and she was like all about it. Like if she would see some dude with like a shaved head, like totally bald, and especially if he kind of had a bodybuilder type body or something, she was like all about it. So just shave your head, Rob. Like to be totally bald on top and then have that like little tiny patch of hair in the back that you have really long and it's kind of
This little
thinning
sad,
in this little tiny ponytail.
greasy, stringy
mean-
ponytail.
Do what you feel, but it's not really a good look.
Right.
Like just shave your head, bud.
So, I mean, and like, what's the motive? You ruined her finances like you did 50 other women. And then when, you killed, once she found out, I don't know when he decided to, kill her. But I mean, it's such a dumb it's so stupid.
Yeah.
A hell of a dumb reason for someone to be killed and then wrapped up like that and thrown in a lake.
Well, as for Janine, the Durham Symphony dedicated a performance of her favorite piece that she had played on cello. She really loved the Nimrod movement of a composer, Edward Elgar's Enigma variations. So the orchestra performed that song like in Janine's memory. 57-year-old Janine Sutphen had touched the lives of those who knew her, and she ended up being buried in Charlotte, North Carolina, next to her husband, Chaz.
Okay.
But it's such a sad story. I feel terrible, like what happened to this woman. I just think so horrible. And this guy, I mean, he's just such a pudwhacker.
He is a pudwhacker.
He's such a damn snot rocket. I mean, what the hell?
And if you hear this, Rob, man, fuck you, dude. I've been saving up the F-bombs just for you.
If I had some scissors, I would cut off your little weak-ass ponytail, Rob.
I hope somebody's ruining his finances in jail. You know what I'm saying? I hope he's overdrafted, bitch.
I was going to say, he's probably wrote a few checks his butt couldn't cash
Guarantee it.
in the prisons.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Heather.
Well, my main sources for this today were all of the newspaper articles of the time. And I did watch a show, and I'm trying to think of what it was called because now I cannot remember. It was a true crime show.
It was called Rob the
Oh,
Knob.
gosh. I cannot remember what the name of the show was. But anywho, mostly newspaper articles. That has been the case of Janine Sutphen.
Well, thank you for that. Sad ending as usual. And, damn.
Grave Secrets. What My Mother Knew. That was the TV show.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for all your hard work on that story. And, yeah.
Fuck Rob.
Fuck Rob.
Such a douche.
God. I'm going to look at a picture of him now.
I'm going to post some pictures of him on the gram.
Okay.
And I'll post some photos for our patrons. But we will be back. We will have a midweek for you.
That's right.
We're going to get back on time here, I promise.
We get back on it. We're heading to the summer months, and there's nothing but bright skies ahead.
I know y'all don't want excuses. You want results.
That's right.
So we will bring those to you.
All right. So until next time, bye.
Don't kill your wife because you're a piece of shit who stole her money.
No, don't kill your wife. If you take nothing else away from this story.
Don't do it.
And don't ruin her finances either.
Yeah, quit maxing out credit cards.
God, what was he even buying?
Like computer stuff.
So you can have a room full of junk computers?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well, that was like what many of these women said, is he was taking all their money, spending it, and they're finding out, and these credit cards are being racked up, and it's him buying computer shit.
Okay.
Like, if you want to have all of these computer items, get a job. Get a job. You are a grown man. Get a fucking job, right?
Yeah, you just buy your own stuff.
Go around looking for a sugar mama. Get a job. Grow up.
And if anybody needs a sugar boy, I know where one's at.
And guess what? At least you got a fucking job.
Well, I do have a job, but I want to be taken away from that life.
We know.
I want somebody to Richard Gere me up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like he did for Old Girl and Pretty Woman.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Richard Gere, like you want to be the American Gigolo where rich women give you money and you service them.
He carried the one out
in
of the
your
factory.
little like Armani suits. Oh, you're talking an officer and a gentleman.
No, I'm mixing it all together. He
You
carried
just
the
want
one,
all of it.
He carried the one old gal out of the factory. And then he took the other gal off the streets. Because that's how he rolls.
All he wanted was directions.
All he wanted was directions. And then she gave him directions to her heart.
Oh, beep, beep.
Via her vagina.
Okay.
Oh, hey.
All right. Bye, Dylan.
Bye.